In these uncertain times, are you spending your days reading terrifying news online? Are you spending your nights in utter terror of homicidal microorganisms? Well, don't panic. Help is here. Live from our home to yours, it's the Cheshmeh Random Chat Show. Movie reviews, food tips, survival techniques, everything you need to stay at home. It's the Cheshmeh Random Chat Show. So put on your favorite survival gear and join us for the fun. Live from our home to yours, it's the Cheshmeh Random Chat Show. So put on your favorite survival gear and join us for the fun.
Like we've figured out it's 17 seconds.
Hello, everybody.
Hey!
We are live with the second edition of the Cheshmeh Random Chat Show.
Hi.
So we have some special guests tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and bring them on screen.
Yes, please.
So, starting in the middle of your screen, we have Gizelle and Johnny.
Yay!
Hello.
Hi guys.
And on the right of your screen, we have from Berlin, Yoko.
Yoko-san!
Hi. Good evening, good morning, good day.
Good morning.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Guten Morgen.
So tonight is a little bit different than the first random chat show where we just had a bunch of folks on talking about random stuff. We thought that we would bring some couples on, and Yoko's husband Ben will be joining us a little bit later in the show today. And we thought it would be fun to talk about a wide variety of things today now.
Right.
So if you have some ideas or things that you'd like to hear during the course of this, go ahead and feel free to text. There's a little bit of a lag for us to get back to you, but
Yeah, 17 seconds.
But if you want to hear something, let us know. If you have a topic you want to throw out. But we're going to talk about a few things that we hope are kind of relevant to your existence under lockdown wherever you are out there in the world.
Hey, Megumi's watching.
Which? I was about to ask which one. This one. Okay.
And
Melanie's
Morgan
watching.
and Annie.
Annalise. Yeah, Kelly. Cuter version of Kelly watching. Cheryl watching. Hello, everybody.
Wow. Yeah, Morgan's out there as well. Morgan says Guten Morgen.
Hi, Morgan.
That's
Just likes
cute.
to say that because it's got his name in it.
Wow, so maybe we should do some introductions around. Gizelle and Johnny, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi.
Oh, come on. You've been doing this for 20 years. You can do it better than that.
I'm kind of like stumped. I mean, okay, yeah. So we've been. Actually, this might be interesting. We came to Japan about more than 20 years ago.
Ooh.
And yeah, we got married and then we came here. So we've basically been working together for that amount of time.
In
Maybe
varying degrees of together.
in varying degrees, because I first came to Japan working for the Board of Education. So he was kind of like a house husband for a few months until he found a job. Like he was on sabbatical. I want to say sabbatical.
That's what I was telling everybody.
He was on sabbatical for about 6 months or so, and then he got hired to work at a language school, and
Well, I can say that.
yeah, you can. Well, you can do that. But then when I was working, I finished work. I finished working where I was working, and then I ended up working with him for a little bit, and then we moved to Kanto, and we worked together at the same place. And then we moved from Tokyo, we moved to Saitama, and we're still working together. But yeah, so we're in lockdown and we work together. So it's a little bit kind of intense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's your self-introduction?
That's my self-introduction.
So Morgan's asking from where? You guys came from Canada or?
Yes, we came from Toronto, Canada.
Toronto,
That's right.
Canada. I was born in Scarborough, which is a suburb in the east part of metropolitan Toronto, and I progressively moved west until I was right downtown just before we moved to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me, I was born in the Philippines, and then my family moved to Canada when I was 14, and then I moved to Japan when I graduated from university. So out of the 3 countries, I've lived in Japan the longest.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm third culture. I'm kind of a little bit messed up.
I was a first generation Canadian. I was born in Canada, and my parents moved to Canada. They met in Toronto. My mom was from England. She moved to Canada with her family, with her brother and my grandma and grandpa. And my dad was from a family of 8 brothers and sisters in Germany, and he was the only one who moved from Germany to Toronto. And my mom and dad eventually met in Toronto, and then the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we know outside of working and moving around, you guys do some creative stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a musician. I normally don't talk nearly quite as much as now. When other people are watching me do it, I'm usually playing guitar or something and singing. But now I'm talking. That explains why I don't do it so good.
You're doing just fine.
I'm a theater major, so when we moved to Tokyo, I became involved with Tokyo International Players, and I performed with them for a few seasons, and then I've been kind of like on hiatus since 2017, I think.
Yeah.
The last show I was in was Macbeth.
Yeah, that was about 3 years ago.
Was it Macbeth? No, or was it in Language Archive? But anyway,
one of those two.
I really, if I wasn't teaching, I would be on stage because that's kind of like my first love. It's my first passion. But I'm also kind of like a wannabe Renaissance person. Like I love cooking. I love gardening. If I have the time, I like sewing, crafting, making stuff. And poetry, I also attend Drunk Poets See God. So I love, watching other people perform. I love watching people do their artwork and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like how I stay sane, I guess.
I'd like to be known as a bon vivant.
A bon vivant.
But I don't know how one does that. I think I just have to sort of claim it for myself. And then, write it in my bio, wherever there's a bio or anything like that. So people will eventually just sort of associate me with, that's Johnny Barefoot. He's a bon vivant. I don't know how that happens. Maybe it'll start tonight.
I think you got to get
Yeah, it's going to start tonight.
You got to get a tattoo.
Right here, so when you're folding your arms, it's always on camera.
Like this.
Yeah.
That's right. You can see it. Yeah. Perhaps I shouldn't look so stern. I should just sort of relax a little bit. Because I've heard a couple other people say he's a bon vivant. I said, well, how do I join a group, a secret society? I don't know. Anyway.
It's Japan. There must be a license for it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to find out. Unless anybody listening knows, how one becomes a bon vivant, because I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay, we're going to put that out to the community and ask for some insight.
Morgan's writing, where's the champagne, Johnny?
Yeah. I think Morgan is giving me some tips. I need champagne, apparently.
Oh, and we've got an answer already. Kelly has chimed in and says you need a Meishi that just says Bon Vivant.
Good idea.
Yeah, just my name, just simple font, nothing else, just name Johnny Barefoot, Bon Vivant. No address, phone number, nothing. Just Johnny Barefoot, Bon Vivant.
Problem solved.
First thing Monday. I know what I'm doing.
On that note, let's go across and let's hear a little bit about Yoko from Berlin.
Hello, I'm Yoko, and my husband unfortunately couldn't be with me from the start. He went to work, which is next door, in a meeting. We're in Berlin, and we used to live in Tokyo for I was in Tokyo for about 10, 11 years, and Ben, he was also living in Berlin, Tokyo for 12 years. And after the 3/11, we decided to move to Berlin, where Ben is originally from. And since then, we live in Berlin, work in Berlin. He's in a coaching business. He has his own company, and I work in a real estate. But I'm from Tottori.
Woo! Tottori.
Yay.
There's a nice beach that we've been to in Tottori.
Exactly.
Sunny?
Yeah, Higashihama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, is that Tottori, the beach party?
Yeah, Tottori beach party.
Yeah. So what was it called? It was a long time ago. What was it called?
It was Sun.
Sobama?
No, that's in.
Or is that Shimane? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But Tottori, the sand dunes, anyway, that was really nice.
Yeah, we have great beach and great seafood. So much less people than in Tokyo. So, yeah, that's where I'm from.
Wow, we just got in all caps from Sam Bennett, Tottori represent.
Yay!
Tottori?
Are there sort of gang hand symbols for Tottori to represent?
I don't know. We'll have to work on that.
Have to make it look like camels.
Ask Sam.
Right, camels. Yeah.
Like a camel sign.
Yeah. There's some sort of sister city kind of relationship between Tottori and Alabama.
Alabama?
Well, that's where Sam's from.
Huh? Didn't know that.
That's possible.
Maybe he was there before.
Maybe. Is his wife from Tottori?
Sam,
Maybe.
you got to chime in with another text and tell us what's
sure
going on.
I'm sure you'll tell us.
Must be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Represent.
Well, welcome everybody. We thought we'd throw some topics out to kind of get us started. Oh, Sam says no, by the way. So.
Oh. All right. He must have Googled it. I guess I could have done that.
He says his wife is from deepest Tokyo.
Deepest Tokyo.
Oh, where is deepest
Tokyo?
Shitamachi.
Oh,
That's
Shitamachi.
the Toei Uedo line.
Nippori. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the Toei Uedo line. That goes down really far.
Yeah, that's the gangster part of Tokyo, I think.
Yeah, dangerous area.
Yeah, hardcore. It's occupied with drummers who take really interesting pictures and post them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about those drummers down there.
That's a very, yeah.
So let's throw one of these out, and so we're all locked down in varying degrees depending on where you are. Some folks still getting out there and going to work and stuff, but since most of our lives are taking place inside these days, we want to hear about your daily routines and what are you guys doing every day?
Well, we got kids, so we try and keep a regular routine with them.
They've been on lockdown for longer than us.
They've been on lockdown since March, so we try and get them up now being the operative word, we try to get them up the same time as they would be going for school, sort of thing. But one of the new things that we've been doing, for me anyway, because it's like I really like the walkies. So we get up in the morning and I try and drag everybody out. Well, him and my daughter, because my son, he goes running by himself. So we try and drag everybody out in the morning. So we go for sample where there's not a lot of people, kind of thing.
Which is quite easily done in our neighborhood, actually.
Yeah, we're very, very kind of
quiet suburban neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like we'll walk around in the morning and we don't see anybody until we get to the stadium and they're like, oh, there's lots of people here, and then we'll try and skirt around it.
But yeah, you can take one path will be like quite narrow, so it's like, okay, let's not take that path because if we meet somebody, we're going to get pretty close. So let's go in the other way where it's a nice wide open space. So if we do encounter someone, we can have at least 2 meters between us.
Where we can stretch,
where we can
avoid them.
So yeah, it's not too bad.
And then we come back, and then we get breakfast ready, and we get sorted out, and then we live like just a few minutes away, like a few minutes walk, 2-3 minute walk away from work, and because work is closed, nobody's there, and we're the only ones that have access. Like right now, we're the only ones that have access to it.
It was close to the students.
Yeah.
The children who come from the families who are enrolled in our school.
So we don't have school, but we do work. And I mean, we could work from home, but we've got the kids and they're also studying online. So it works out that work has Wi-Fi. It's got all the materials that we need. So we're kind of transitioning into, well, they've been doing online lessons. So it's a good place to actually conduct online classes because there's nobody there and we have all the materials, and it's actually a little bit more conducive to that sort of environment.
Yeah, we don't have to tax our Wi-Fi system at home, and we don't have to ask like the kids to be quiet for 2 hours at a time, which is actually not working too badly right now. I don't know where they are, but they're not making much noise.
It's quiet. What are they doing?
Which is either a great thing or a horrible thing.
Yeah, could be either.
Yeah, and then we come home, and the kids part of their routine is like they clean the house when they have to try and do as many things as they can, like studying, exercising, reading books, or anything before they actually can go on a device. So it's nice that we'll come home and sometimes the laundry's been hung or the kitchen's been cleaned or the dishes are washed. Not always, but it's there. And then
all the bagels are gone.
And then they're playing on like my son, he likes Fortnite, so he's on there. And then we have dinner, and then we watch the news, and then we watch a movie if there is, and then we go to bed. It's not really pretty. It's pretty kind of mundane.
Which is we go through like with the way things are going. Like this is the new schedule. With the way things are going now, we find sometimes we're quite busy with online classes and creating content and videos and different things to put up on YouTube to put on our school's website for the families. But then other times there's loads of time where we can do, whatever we want. And I've ended up really, really taking a big bite into a recording project that I started, about 6 months ago, just a little bit. And then, but in the last month, I've done a ton of recording because I'd be sitting there and thinking, do I have anything to do? Is there anything I need to get done? No, and no. Pretty quiet right now. I don't know where everybody is. They're doing something or napping. I don't know. I'm going to record. So there's been a couple of days where I've just recorded and played music like all day long. It's been fantastic.
Nice.
So that's the other side of it. So either we're crazy busy with like the new system of online teaching, or there's bags and bags of free time.
Yeah. I've been sewing masks. I've been pickling eggs. I've been baking. I'm tending to some chia pets.
Oh yeah, chia pet.
Yeah.
Back,
Chia pets. I'll show you our chia pet.
back there.
What's chia pad?
Well,
You know
It's
chia seeds?
coming.
Chia seeds, yeah.
it's starting to grow.
So they're starting to grow. You can see. I had a chia seed accident, and what happened was I had a whole bag of chia, like a whole bunch of chia seeds fall to the ground, and I'm like, I don't want to eat that.
Uh-huh.
So and you can't wash them because they'll just like expand. So so I made a chia pet.
Big,
I have 3. I have a turtle.
a big green fuzzy thing.
Yeah.
They were all the rage. Like I seem to recall, like back in the 70s or 80s. You could buy like
the 80s.
You could buy the kit on TV, and there was like this song, chia, chia pet.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Kelly would know that. So.
And then so people were making chia pets, and then we started eating chia seeds, and then I remembered. I'm like, wait a minute. I know what people used to do with this stuff. Yeah. Again, I'm all conscious about crossing my arms now, without the bon vivant tattoo.
We'll have to go get that done as soon as everything's back to normal. I
when
know
can
a lady.
you know a guy. You know a lady. All right. I'll get the cards. I'll get the Macy done first.
All right. So Yoko, I know you've got some pretty cool things going on as part of your daily schedule. You want to share with us too?
Yeah, sure. Our daily routine had to go through some tweaking because of the whole lifestyle change. So first thing in the morning, we get up very early in the morning, 5:30, and then we make our green tea. We do our stretching, and then we listen to the news, the radio news. We don't have TV. And we have our morning training routine, which is about 10, 12 minutes long. And we do the core muscle training. We do the leg training just to get our day started with this energy, because I heard that lots of people watch news on TV or on smartphone and they get so depressed by the whole situation. So you need some energy source first thing in the morning, which is for us green tea and a little bit of exercise. And recently Kelly shared with us, you guys run in the house, right, for about 20 minutes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is possible to do the exercise at home. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be 10 minutes. And then it really gives you the energy to start the day. So that's our routine. And then we go about the day with our own thing. Work, I still go to work. So I come home, and in the evening, we're so tired that we go to bed at 10.
Mm. Yeah.
That's our routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you want to talk about ours a bit?
Ours, we have a rough routine, but not that strict. We wake up in the morning before noon. We wake up. But you're working from home
I get
anyway.
up earlier than you do.
I wake up sometimes early too. But I run a cafe. It's closed at the moment because of the situation. But I was working late. So my time was kind of sleeping around 2 a.m., waking up 9 a.m. So maybe I'm healthier at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, our schedules are quite different. So I'm still working for a tech company, and a lot of my work now is about business continuity planning. So first thing I do every day before I do anything else is go through and check all the numbers for 12 countries that we track every day, 7 that we do business in, and the rest are ones that have a significant influence on those countries. And then that needs to go out as soon as possible because it goes out to all our staff across Asia. It just gives them an idea of where things are going. That's not a fun thing because every day you see, infections and deaths going up, and that's not a highlight for my day. So after that, I try to disconnect from it a little bit more. So we usually do breakfast together. Then I come back into this space, and this is my office for the day. And Meg's got the really nice open window. It looks like it's a control center for a highly advanced cultures aircraft or something where you work every day.
We just set the area for work and area for relax so we can kind of switch. So, but we always try to eat 3 meals together.
Yep.
Work separately. Otherwise, we're going to drive each other crazy.
Yeah.
Emily, sorry, that flag behind you there, the yellow, white, purple, and black, is new. It wasn't there before.
Actually, it was there, but it was hanging the other direction.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Where's that flag from?
That's not a place. That's actually so. I don't know how many folks know, but the whole gay pride thing should have been coming up here during spring. So I wanted to put this up kind of in honor of that since it's not happening. This is actually non-binary gender flag. And it's, yeah, we like it. So it's here kind of representing today.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt, but you're just talking about your workspace, and then I noticed that was there. So, sorry.
This is Kelly's workspace.
Yeah. So, and actually my workspace is driving me crazy because I want to open the windows, but the entrance to our flat is on the side where the windows are. And just to give you an idea of how completely ignored the lockdown in Japan is being, there's traffic going back and forth out here on this landing all day. Some of it's delivery guys, and they just run by, ring a doorbell, and they're gone. But there's also, residents who just kind of, I think maybe they're going for a walk on the landings. So it's kind of stressful because I want to open up the windows and let the air come through, but we can't. So what we do instead is in the afternoon. So after we've had lunch and it's digested a bit, we'll open up the windows on the other side, which is the Ballander side, and we do our house exercises. And we've kind of changed them up now. So I don't know if you guys watch CNN, but Andrew Cuomo on CNN had coronavirus. And he was talking about his doctors recommending building up lung capacity. So we're doing exercises that strengthen your lung muscles and improve your breathing. We're doing another one for sleep apnea because that's something I deal with. And then on top of that, we do stretches, and we're kind of alternating between belly dance videos and running in the house now, I think.
Yeah.
Woo!
And we're losing, it's weird. You would think being locked in the house and not being able to walk around, because we would walk a lot, and Meg's pretty active at the cafe. We're actually getting healthier. We don't eat any takeaway. We cook everything ourselves now. Meg cooks most everything. And I mean, being locked up with the chef from Cheshmeh is really so terribly hard.
Oh, I know. That would be awful. Having to eat Megumi's cooking every day.
Oh, the horror.
But we're losing weight and building muscle, which is
Great.
kind of amazing. And then we binge watch things like, what are we watching these days?
Tiger King.
Oh, we watched the Tiger King.
I have to say the Tiger King was a little too close to home for Utah for me, and my relatives from Texas.
I thought it was like the best kind of escape from, like from the whole thing. Because when we started watching it, it was when Japan was still kind of like in that uncertainty period where it's like, are we going to close? Are we not going to close? And there was just so much insanity. Like people didn't know what was going on. And
we need a Tiger King.
So we need a Tiger King. Because it's a different kind of insanity that you momentarily forgot how crazy it is in reality, like what was going on in the States with Trump and all that kind of stuff, that you watch this and you're like, you forget like the everything. Like you just kind of lost in the insanity, that kind of absurdity, and then you come back out of it and then now it's like, oh no, it's finished. What do we do? And you see, you turn on the TV and there's like, the orange baboon back on saying, IV yourself with some Lysol or something.
That was the craziest thing I've ever heard.
We need not to resort to that on the Cafe Cheshmeh random chat show.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up.
I don't want to get heavy or anything.
Oh, Morgan just asked, do you have belly dance costumes?
Do you have belly dance costume?
I have a skirt. Does that count?
Okay. He has a start to dance.
I did belly dancing with Nina and Vina, the belly dancing twins. Have you seen them?
Nina and Vina.
No.
Yeah, Nina and Vina. There's two of them, and they look exactly the same, and they go and they move at the same time.
Cool.
Yeah. Please send the link later.
Well, she had it on VHS.
Yeah.
VHS.
It's been that long.
It's that old.
We have a VHS.
That's awesome.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere.
We don't even have a VHS machine. Now we have to take the tape out and hold it up to the light. Which apparently, no, I'm not going to go there.
I mean, I guess the stuff we've been watching is pretty out there too. We're watching RuPaul's Drag Race season 12, which we love.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no favorite drag queen this year. Usually, we've been watching the whole seasons, and usually there's a drag queen we're super excited about. But
this season.
And we were watching Ozark, which we.
Oh, I heard some good things about that.
I heard about that. Yeah,
it's
good.
It's white collar Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay. I never really got into Breaking Bad.
I did. I liked it.
We watched like a little bit. I think I think the last episode that I remember the most is that his wife was pregnant, and then that's kind of like a vague thing that I remember, and then that's it.
Morgan just linked
Nina and Vina.
Wow.
I have to say that later.
You guys can find
Thank you,
that in
Morgan.
the links. And actually, earlier we got a link for Chia Pets from Cheryl.
I thought that's what that was. Yeah.
Chia.
Gotta watch that later.
Ozark. Yeah, Ozark, says Kelly Havelsrud.
It's a good series. It's in its third season, so if if you want to have something you can binge watch instead of channel surfing, or we've got this is one of the weird habits we've developed. The Apple TV thing, scrolling through that will drive you crazy. I mean, crazy. It's good to have something to binge watch, so you don't have to think about what to find.
You know what I like watching? It's not a show, but it's on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel called Vsauce. And Vsauce has lots of really, really interesting things. There's sciencey stuff. There's like space stuff. There's like one of them is like, how much of the Earth can you see? And because when you're looking at pictures of Earth from the Space Center, say from the International Space Station, rather, it looks like the countries are much bigger than you think they should be, right? Like when you look at a globe, it's like you're looking at Africa or America or something. It's like, how come it's so big? How come it's taking up so much of the Earth when you look at a picture from the space station? But it's only orbiting from so far above the Earth. But anyway, it goes on. I could go on about it. But it's really, really interesting stuff like that. Things like what happens to a computer file when it's deleted. Also, and interesting stuff. And then the guy who does it has 2 or 3 other YouTube channels as well that are really, really interesting stuff. He goes into interesting math things and everything. So I kind of binge on that. I just sit there and go down a rabbit hole, starting with that and looking at like different space videos and different things and do that kind of thing. I like doing that. But cool. Vsauce is really cool.
Okay, we'll get that link added into the thread too. Let's have
Question.
Yoko field this one.
This one,
Yeah.
question for everyone.
Oh, good question.
Dozo.
Are you using humor to cheer yourselves up? And what are you watching, but you don't have TV, ne? So what are you listening?
Listening.
Or reading?
We both love to read, and but we read all kinds of things, not only funny things or serious things. So the question was, what are you using humor to cheer yourselves up?
Are you using humor?
Right, we do. For example, we both come from linguistic background, right? So we like to mix languages up intentionally, not putting all sorts of things in one sentence, but we do that, how do you call it, wazato, right? To make the sentence sound funny. What was it? This morning, Ben said, because I baked bread, because we have time, and it was good. So he said something like, in Italian, I don't speak Italian, but it sounds like that you put something simo at the end. Is it Italian?
Simo, yeah, like bellissimo or bellissima.
Bellissimo or something like that. And he put that in with English or something, and he said mucho. Mucho is also Spanish or Italian.
Spanish or Italian, yeah.
Yeah. So we mix it all up and put simo at the end of everything, or mucho something. So, anyways, long story short, we mix things up to make to make the words sound funny, and it's just silly, but we need some silliness and funniness in our lives right now. So yeah, we play with words.
So Yoko-san speaks Russian, German, English, of course Japanese, ne?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
The switch from Russian to Japanese, that's hardcore. Much respect.
Thank you.
Well, those are two languages that are quite different from, like in linguistic sort of groups. Russian is quite different from other sort of European kind of languages, and Japanese is different from other, like really different from other Asian languages. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty. That I find amazing. I have a hard time speaking English well enough most of the time that I'm very much a monoglot. I can't, my Japanese is terrible after being here so long. So I find that absolutely amazing when somebody can speak multiple languages, not just 2, but like 3 or 4 or 5. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but which language are you guys talk to your kids?
English.
No, it's just English at home. Like we made a point of having only English at home because we were sending them to Japanese schools. So they would go to Japanese schools, and it only became an issue when our son was in kindergarten, he would come home from school and want to tell us about something that happened in kindergarten, and he would have a hard time telling us in English. So he'd get a little bit frustrated and then say, "Can I just tell you about it in Japanese? Because I can understand, her Japanese is much better than mine, but I can understand Japanese. You speak to me in Japanese, I'll understand most of it." So I'm like, "Yeah, just tell us in Japanese." And then he would tell us in Japanese, and that was it. But I would always make a point of only using English at home. So they,
and he's in junior high school now, so it's like, it's fine, right? You know, the thing too is that growing up in a very multicultural area, like in Toronto, for example, and we kind of lived in the suburbs of Toronto, and I'm assuming it'd be the same in Berlin, but it's like there's a lot of immigrants in the neighborhood, so it was it was really fascinating for me. Like, the one thing that kind of stuck out in my head is, like, in my classroom, I had, you know, my classmates, like, you know, one of my best friends in elementary school, she's Polish. There's another guy who's Filipino. There was like somebody from Ukraine and all that. And everybody spoke a second language, spoke their second language or their mother language. They only spoke English at school, but then when they came home, because they were being raised by their grandmothers or their grandparents or something who didn't speak English.
Yeah, there's some kids.
Their households,
same thing,
their households only spoke that one language. And the one thing that really stood out, like, I speak Filipino, I speak Tagalog, and I can also speak Visayan, which is the dialect that they use in Cebu, like in Bohol, that area, right? And one of the guy friends that I knew in elementary school, he was born and raised in Canada, but he was fluent in another dialect that's from the north part of the Philippines, which I don't normally hear, right? Like, my parents, my mom and my mom's family, they knew about it because they lived in, do you know Baguio, which is the northern part? It's the northern part of the Philippines, and they speak this dialect over there, which is really, really kind of, it's hard for me to understand because it's completely different from Tagalog or Visayan. Right. Like, I would probably say that it's more of a language than a dialect. But he spoke it fluently. And I'm like, how is that possible? And he's like, well, his grandmother lived at home, and that's the only language that they would use. So that kind of stuck with me because my younger brother and my younger sister, they were like 5 and 7 when we moved to Canada, and they don't speak Tagalog as much, or actually, I'm not even sure if they can. Now they're adults now. They can understand a little bit of it. So for me, it's like, because we never used Tagalog at home, we only spoke English with my parents. So for me, it's kind of like the reverse of that. Like, here in Japan, we're only going to speak English so that you guys learn to speak Japanese as fluently as you guys can, because we can't. We're like functional illiterates, basically. So it's good. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, sorry. Digress. Random. Sorry.
And then it was random chat.
We got a question, Gizelle, if your little ones speak Tagalog.
They know a little bit, a few words here and there, because we do visit family once a year as much as possible. Like, my grandmother still lives there, so so it's their great grandmother. So we do, if when we can, we'll go at least once a year, so that they grow up around it, so they're accustomed to the sounds. And I'm every once in a while, when I'm joking, that's the language humor thing. It's like, I'll scold them in Tagalog, which sounds kind of funny to them. So, that's
wonderful.
and speak with an accent or something, like a thick Filipino accent, and they, they're like, oh, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of. What were we talking about?
About people in everyday life.
Everyday life.
Oh, what we do in everyday life.
So,
was it humor?
That's right.
Do we use humor?
Yeah.
I think I try to make light of pretty much anything. It gets me into trouble sometimes, but I'll make jokes about pretty much anything. Very rarely am I serious about things when I'm talking to other people.
Yeah, this is like that post that you had, Kelly, about dark humor.
Oh yeah.
And I've gotten in trouble with that in Japan because Japanese people don't understand the dark humor, and I'll translate it into Japanese when I'm making that joke or making a dark joke, and they're like, "That's not funny," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm so sorry."
For those who maybe didn't see that post, that morning in the news, there'd been a whole lot of people down by Shonan, I think, surfing, like 250 people surfing in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, dear.
I made an off-color joke because, you know, you always see those videos where there's sharks or something, like our giant dinosaur at the end of the last Jurassic Park is about to eat the surfers. I just said, where are the giant great white sharks when you need them? And I thought it was obviously a joke, but somebody really freaked out.
Funny. Yeah.
See, I think that's funny.
Okay.
I mean, I had to actually put a warning in going, okay, no one wants anyone to be eaten by sharks. We just want them to stay out of the water and go home. That's it.
You know what I saw? Yeah. This is sort of a related thing. I saw a picture that somebody put up because apparently in Florida, the beaches are starting to open up. They're not paying attention to any of that. So in Florida, they're doing that. So there was a picture of this guy who was dressing up as the Grim Reaper, and he was just hanging out on beaches. And there's a picture of him up on a lifeguard tower with this tattered old black beach umbrella, and he's there in his black robe with a big scythe, just sitting there.
That was cool.
Really cool.
It's like a newspaper caricature cartoon, but in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be cool.
I think we can't get by without the humor. I mean, for us, we're pretty weird. Yeah. As Meg's T-shirt clearly states, we're pretty weird, distorted. Yeah. So the other night, for some inexplicable reason, the Heat Miser song from the Christmas show started going through my head, and we broke into that routine.
We bring it to musical,
Yeah, we do musicals. We do. I don't know. We were talking today about reenacting a Star Trek episode, ordering Star Trek uniforms and making the living room look like the bridge of the Enterprise.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It's not really healthy for us to be left unattended for this amount of time.
No. We get I posted a couple, like that video that we made of a makeup tutorial.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that was like a kind of a highlight because it was funny to do it and stuff, and you know, then their kids had fun. Like our kids are hilarious. Like they're, you know, that kind of adds to, you know, the non-gravitas of the situation because they're goofy kids. So, what was it? Oh, last night.
Oh, the picture.
The picture.
Gizelle has a cousin.
Yes, I have. It's actually my mom's cousin's daughter.
She posts the funniest stuff.
She doesn't post anything, but she just posts little memes that I don't see anywhere else on my feed.
There'll be like a string at some point, like almost every day, but she'll put like about 6 or 7 in a row, and they're hilarious.
Just
like really funny
so
stuff.
Funny. But last night I was in tears. I think maybe it's just because I was so tired and stressed out with everything was going on. But the caption, it was like a Renaissance painting of a pope with his garb, and he had a little dragon with him. Like
he had like a thing that looked like a canoe paddle or
a mitre or whatever.
And he had this, you know, big pointy hat.
Yeah, but it was all
and a dragon on a leash.
Yeah, but it's like
and
a
all
Renaissance
the robes
painting
and everything.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is me coming out of a lockdown.
After all the stupid crap I bought online.
Yeah, after all the stupid crap I bought online, this is me coming out of a lockdown, and it's the picture of him, like, and the look on the painting. It's a classical painting, right? And the look on it was just so hilarious that I was laughing by myself because it was just, you know. So I always go to, you know, to Selena and check out, you know, the kind of stuff that she posts because they're funny.
You know what I found on my phone too? There's apps that come with the phone that I can't get rid of, but I never use, right? And one of them is Clips. right? And I never use it. And I think I opened it for the first time yesterday. I've had the phone for 3 years, and I opened this clips, and I'm like, what is this? I was trying to gain some storage space on my trying to gain some storage space on my phone, and I was looking through, and I'm like, clips, what is this? And I noticed that I could take a video of myself. It makes me look sort of like an old kind of broken TV screen, but behind me is the Millennium Falcon. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty neat. So yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of the Pope thing, we were talking about fashion this afternoon. What's going to happen to kids when they go back to school? Because they're so used to fashion and stuff. Like our niece is in that age now where she's thinking about being a fashionista and, you know, what she looks like. But when they've been locked in the house for 6 months and they've just let themselves go, how is that going to manifest in the first day when they go back to school?
It's the haircuts, right? Like our son is like looking pretty shaggy already, and he's like he's getting like curly locks that kind of curl this way, and I don't know. It's gonna be like really interesting for him.
There'll probably be a lot of bowl cuts with moms urgently cutting kids' hair the day before school.
Yeah.
Katie has the question.
Yeah, we've got a question. Do you want to read?
You closer.
Okay, so Kelly's asking, as international couples, do you have any cultural differences that are made worse or better from self-quarantining?
Ooh, Yoko, feel that one. I'm interested to hear what the Germans are doing.
The Germans, yeah.
Yes.
The Germans. They just, well, in our household, this whole quarantine thing, first of all, we spent 24/7 for about a month because I was on our paid holiday and for 2 weeks, and then I took 2 weeks of sick leave because of the situation right now. So we were at home together for a month, only two of us, just two of us. We don't have any kids or dogs, so, and it didn't make us crazy, but the crazy Germans, when you go to the supermarket or to the drugstore, people are quite how do you put it? Of course, there are all kinds of people. People are still conscious about the rules, the 2-meter rules, or
so German.
Yeah, so German. And when you go to the supermarket, they tape the floor with a 2 meters mark, and at the cashier, at the register, they of course put the plastic wall thing, and you see the round mark here. You stand here and wait marks, and so people are in general following the rules. They're good at it. But one friend of Ben's, he sent us a video at a drugstore who were buying, I don't know, 5 packages of toilet papers. And here is the thing about German, they argue a lot and hard. And this customer was arguing with the shop staff, and it wasn't like arguments you see in Japan. It's really hardcore arguing. So that kind of thing also happens. You know, crazy people are, I guess, everywhere in the world. And those craziness comes out, especially now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's so true.
But, yeah. Well, I see fragments of Germanness in Ben at home, like, but it doesn't necessarily come out because of the situation right now, but it comes out all the time. For example, maybe it's women and men thing. I put things all over. For example, I use the scissors and I put the scissors everywhere because I remember where I put it, where I used it last time. So I have this picture memory where it might be, but Ben has to have a rule. Okay, scissors belong here in this drawer. If I go to that drawer, I can find the scissors. But once the scissors are taken out of that drawer, you're pointing, and but where does that come from? It's the parents. He was brought up like that, and that's, I guess, pretty German way of making things or putting things in order at home.
That works for me if you remember where you put stuff. Like
yes.
I think like everything has a place and there's a place for everything and everything should be put in its place. But if you use something and don't put it back, but you remember where it is, that's 50% there, I think, for me. But if you use it and then put it somewhere and then completely forget where it is, that's for me an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna forget where you put stuff, please try to put it that. But
Yes.
Yeah. The problem is that we remember. That's the problem.
If you remember, that's fine.
Yeah, some people doesn't remember where and just put.
Yeah, we don't know who, but some people.
I know, right?
I don't know who some people are.
It's weird because I'm super nitpicky about some things and completely, utterly hopeless on other things. So, like, this room is pretty organized. I know where everything is, but when it comes to the rest of the house, it's not at all the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like that for most people anyway. And I think it's also like that, especially for artists who have, like he, as a musician, he's got piles of paper and notes and chords and crap everywhere. So he's got his own designated room where he can make that mess and I just don't look at it and just kind of, I can close the doors, and then it's like I don't have to see it, right? And it's a mess, and I go in there, and it's like I don't know where to, I can't tidy it up because he knows exactly where everything is. But it'll drive me nuts because I'm like, there's just papers and music scores and stuff everywhere, and it's like I can't stand it. But my son is like that too. It's like his room is a mess, but he knows where everything is. I, on the other hand, have kind of starting to lose track of where everything is. So my sewing room is a mess, and I haven't been in there in a while. Like I brought everything down. I sew down here because I want to be where the family is. So if I'm making something, I want to be with everybody, and then I just kind of like forget that I'm supposed to put stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
So long as you don't leave it lying around in my music room. I don't let my music room spill out into the rest of the house,
Do you think we have culture differences?
Culture
show up?
differences. You're not really an American.
No, and actually, I've been Canadian since 2016.
Yeah, I remember.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We welcome you with open arms, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I asked Trudeau for a passport, but he hasn't answered my email. But we'll see.
Isn't that somebody at the embassy?
I should. I don't.
Yes.
I think because we're both. Sorry.
Sorry, no. Kelly just said so. Your individual space is important. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Individual space is important.
Important,
Everybody has their own space, and I think for us, like that's why we decided to shoot in the kitchen because this is kind of like a neutral zone for us. 'Cause we spend a lot of time as a family and as a couple. We spend a lot of time in here cooking and working and doing all that stuff. But we go off on our own kind of separate spaces. We're fortunate that we have the space that we can go and retreat somewhere in the house where my daughter will go in her bedroom, my son will be in in another room, and he's got his music room, and I've got like room. We can separate. So we kind of like. The kitchen is kind of a neutral area because, when he does his music, it's on that side. On the other side where he did the shows from before.
And this gave us a good excuse to clean up the dining room table, which is quite big and is usually this sort of shifting dune of flotsam and jetsam that we have to kind of push back so we can eat. We're just like, all right, nobody, you can't see it, but we could show you. But our dining table is not doing too badly right now. There we go. There's a good look at it.
It's nice and this was actually
that's pretty clean.
This was a prop in one of the shows that I had, and it was a big table. You can lie on it.
Wow.
So
we don't usually lie on it.
We don't usually lie on it, but I figured if the time came.
One could.
If the time came where, somebody kind of like got into an accident and I had to treat them, I could like say, just squish everything on the table, find the person down here, and I'd be like, quick, get
boil water.
Boil the water. Give us the knife.
Wow.
Like Civil War era kind of type thing where it's like, the body is splayed out.
Give him a piece of wood to chew on. Give me a saw.
Yeah. I have to cauterize the wound.
So prepared.
Well, in the sewing machine, you can sew those limbs back on.
With sewing machine.
Yeah.
That's up. Oh, is it down? No, it is downstairs right now. Yeah.
So your place is pretty big.
It is.
It is big enough for us to be able to spend an entire day in our own space.
Where we don't have to see anybody.
All four of us. We could spending the whole day and not see anyone, which is kind of nice sometimes.
I have to agree with that.
So that's the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
That room. Yes, you're not going to show them that room.
I'm going to show them that room. That's the kitchen.
It's not my room.
That's the living room, and then back there is Johnny's music room.
The dark space back there.
That's big.
Back there. And then over here, this is the children's jungle area.
Huh.
The fort is not usually there. It's been there for a week now. About a week and a half. Gotta let her go.
But that's over there. That's my kimono closet. That's one of my hobbies. I collect kimonos, old kimonos.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow.
Over there. Also.
And the red one is back in my music room that Sam is dying for me to wear. He wants me to put that on.
Obviously, we don't own the house. We don't own the house. We rent it. And the owners, like, it used to be like those in-law houses before they had those in-law suites where there was like the kitchen is upstairs and then another kitchen downstairs. Like in those big giant houses, right? Not like the more modern ones. This was an old one where I think that room that I just showed you was Bachan and Jichan's room before. Because upstairs, because there's like 3.5 bedrooms upstairs, so we each have our own bedrooms and a sewing room. And that's where, like, the chonan, like the oldest son and his family would sleep. That's where they were. But everybody came down here and shared the kitchen, shared the bathing space and stuff. But the thing is that because it's such a big house, Japanese people don't usually want to live or rent a house this big.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, before we moved in though, it was like a daycare.
It was a daycare for senior citizens.
Senior citizens.
Huh.
Oh,
The first year we lived here, it happened 3 or 4 times. We just get like a random senior citizen show up at our door, and we'd open the door, and they'd be like, "Oh." And I felt really bad. And I'm like, no, sorry. I was like, every single time I was this close to saying, but you came all the way here. Come in for a cup of tea. But I never did. I should have.
So, and that's the thing, like the owners, like it cost them too much to tear the place down and rebuild. And it's still in really good condition. So they're just kind of hanging on to it, and they're more than happy to let us stay. And we've been here for.
They actually dropped the rent twice.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
yeah,
nice.
Not by much.
But not that much. But every time
just
renewal,
a gesture.
we would have to renew every 2 years. So every time renewal would come along, the real estate guy would come and he would like say, "Oh, yeah, your rent's gone a bit lower."
Yeah.
So
that's rare.
I'd love that to happen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Saitama. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What we were paying the same amount for an apartment in Adachiku when we first moved up to Tokyo. We were paying the same amount as we're paying now, but for an apartment in Adachiku, which is like easily half the size of where we're living now.
Less.
Half the size.
Yeah.
It was like So
we
not
were
too bad.
lucky, and it's got a garden that
Bit of a garden.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a garden, and then upstairs I've got a nice big balcony where I also garden.
Nice.
The neighbors don't mind if I barbecue.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss barbecuing. We're in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
When this whole thing is finished, you guys are more than welcome to come and have a barbecue with us.
Oh yeah.
Last Saturday of August, if everything's all in good and in the clear, last Saturday of August is Play Music on Your Porch Day.
Ina.
Wow.
So
Oh, sounds great.
if everything's good this year, we can do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't know how long
this year.
this will.
I'm going to be playing music on my porch regardless. But
Well, Kelly was asking if we live in the cafe, but which we don't.
Oh, we're not living in the cafe.
It's about 10 minutes away from here. So, but our Meg's father and rest of the family live above the cafe. So it is a family building. Just the first floor is the cafe.
Yeah.
But we live about 10
okay.
minutes away in Honancho. And we're in the middle of like a family area. So this place, like the dystopian thing that we can tell that the world is kind of in this bad situation is there are wild herds of children running through the streets every day. Huge herds of them on both sides. I'm waiting for them to like turn their cars and stuff into kind of Mad Max and start using flamethrowers and such, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Not quite.
We have announcements every morning, and I think around like in the afternoon, a little bit after lunch, and they kind of say, "Please stay home," because there's lots of people that roam. Like the parks are always busy.
Yeah.
The kids are out there playing, and it's like my kids haven't been out of the house.
Yeah.
Right? But there's children that are out there, and the thing that kind of bothers me a lot is that there's young families like with toddlers and they're out playing, and to me that's
It's scary.
they wear masks,
Our niece is a really mellow homebody, so we haven't had to worry about her. She's quite happy staying home with granddad and doing something creative or reading something. She's very mellow.
That's a rare case, though.
Yeah. But around here, it doesn't feel like we're in a pandemic most of the time, which is kind of distressing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Berlin, where you are in Berlin, how is it there? Like, how's your neighborhood and your park?
The parks, the little parks for kids, it's all closed and chained and taped, so nobody can actually go in there. But we have open park spaces or green spaces, and now the weather is getting warmer and nicer and sunny, so people do go out and sit on the green grass. But I guess it depends on where you live. Where we live right now, people are still keeping the distance with each other, even though they go outside and sit outside. They try to be away from other people.
Mm.
Yeah. And when you walk on the street, pedestrian street, people do care, walk and be careful to make the distance, have the distance with each other. Yeah, but younger generations and people they do look like that they're from Turkey or Middle East. Young men, they walk in threes and fours, which is not allowed yet. You can go out with one other person and take a walk, or yeah, but you cannot go out with two other people unless you're from the same household.
Okay.
So the rule hasn't been softened yet, but because of this weather, spring, and Europeans just love spring, and they cannot just stay home anymore. People do go out, but we have to see, because the actual influence come probably 2 weeks after the actual action taking place, right? So we just have to see how this, how things develop.
Good
well, it sounds like it's. Sorry, Kelly?
I was just going to say, this is a good opportunity to tell everybody, stay home for Golden Week, please. Stay in your house.
Yeah.
Do something indoors.
Yeah.
Don't go traveling.
Was that you that said that there's people that are booking tickets to go places? I saw somewhere on my feed, like travel agencies are reporting bookings and trains, like in Japan.
Unfortunately true.
Not surprising though.
Well, we've been hearing, what was it today? The extra Shinkansens are being canceled, so there won't be extra capacity like there usually is for Golden Week, but I think that we're still seeing people travel. I don't know.
I would assume the people from Tokyo who aren't originally from Tokyo will probably make the trek to go back to their hometowns,
right?
Where their families are from, and that, to me, that's the big concern over there, because it's like Tokyo has the highest rates, right? So if they go to Tottori, then that's it. The Tottori has only like 1 or 2 cases or something like that, right? Like it's really
so far.
It's been 3 for a week and a half or something. It's been flat.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's one of the cities I track all of the prefectures every morning, and they've been one of the best.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If you get people, Tokyoites, who want to go and visit Tottori, like, hey, let's go to Tottori because there's not a lot of COVID over there. Let's go.
Yeah.
Or their families.
Or their families are there. Then that's, Yeah. But, before I forget, I kind of wanted to mention this, just in terms of being in the lockdown, it kind of adds up, because I was reminded of this because I saw a woman the other day coming back from somewhere, and she had her arm in a sling, and she was kind of limping a little bit. And I don't know what triggered it, but I was around that same time where it's like people are in lockdown and they're victims of abusive relationships.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of wanted to raise that awareness, and it's not just, it's not just women, it's not just, but it's children as well.
Yeah.
Who are stuck at home and stuff, and how, trying to figure out how to be aware of that. I mean, in Japan, the kids get a phone call every week during this lockdown.
Yeah, kids' school call the house.
Yeah, they call the house.
We just want to make sure your kids are okay.
Yeah, and they've been doing that. But, for women, especially who are victims of abuse, in abusive relationships, they're stuck inside, and it's possible that their husbands may not be employed right now. Right? They may have lost their jobs. So
or having to work from home.
And so they're stuck at home with a partner that's that. So, like keeping in touch through here and, listening and just being aware, I think is really important. I mean, I don't know what sort of things you can do for that here in Japan. Like as foreigners, it's like, what can we do? Like, who do we report?
I had heard some organization here was
there's a
trying to put...
helpline, and they provide a hotel room and stuff. So we can share the information later here. So if you're in trouble, just
that's good
for the help.
Well, that's a good segue into one of the other questions we had, and that is, do you have some advice for kind of, how do you keep a harmonious atmosphere in your house during this situation?
I don't know. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear some advice as well. No. I mean, well,
happy wife, happy life.
Is that true?
Really understand and remember that. Oh no. Yeah, really understand and remember that people need their own space.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that's and get a hobby if you don't have one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for us because a lot of us are in the arts or have some kind of artistic outlet. But there's a lot of Japanese people that we know that don't have like a hobby that they will pursue, right? Where it's just like it's work and home and sleep, and it's like
well, not just Japanese.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say Japanese, but like I think it's even more so in Japan. That's why it increases stress levels for a lot of men, especially because that's what their stereotypical day is. Like they wake up in the morning, go to work, go on the train, and come back home really late, and that's it. And then it's like being a retired. All of a sudden, you're suddenly retired, and they don't know what to do with themselves.
To be fair, though, it's kind of hard to do that. It's like I need to get a hobby. Okay. If you hadn't done and if you've not had a hobby or some kind of interest for the longest time, how do you go about doing that? I'm fortunate in that I have that, and for me right now that I do have, I was saying before, lots of free time. I've got time to do the thing. Like normally, under normal circumstances, I go a little squirrely because I don't have time to play music and write music and record. And so I'm in some ways more relaxed now under state of emergency and lockdown, sort of soft lockdown in Japan. I'm a little happier now than before because I've got the time to do the music and stuff now. But I think I'm fortunate in that I have that passion and thing that I find interesting.
Yeah. And keeping in touch with friends. I mean, I don't like when I go on Facebook, I'll scroll every once in a while, but I won't sit there and kind of engage in people on Facebook. I would prefer a phone call or a video chat. Like Morgan we had a little chat with Morgan a couple nights ago, and that was really nice. And I'll schedule a date with my girlfriends kind of thing. Kelly and Sorsha have been we scheduled a little chat and we had a little just hey, how you been? Like that's so important to have that lifeline. And staying on Facebook and engaging in Facebook kind of eats up so much of your time.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Yeah.
Like when you get into
you can really get sucked in.
Yeah, and you get into arguments with other people, or you expand on your discussions, and it takes time away from being in the moment and enjoying something else. Right. I mean, if you need the human contact, then yes, you do need it. But, have the human contact in a different way. I don't know. It's like not arguing or something on Facebook. But it's especially on my family, it's divided. I've got family who are supportive of the Trump administration and family who's obviously more on the Democratic side. And we're Canadians. We're kind of neutral, but we're kind of obviously a little bit more on the liberal side of things, and we have relatives that kind of jump in with saying stuff about Trump, and then they get offended and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, don't spend your time so much doing that. Maybe do something else. Like,
Oh, Ben's here.
Oh,
Ben!
yay!
who's that?
Oh, come here. Das ist Ben.
Can you still hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. But why is it so? Come sit.
The volume's not ready.
Yeah. So,
Yay!
Hello!
Hello. We can ask
We
him
know
the same
everything about you
question.
now.
Everything.
Oh, good. I don't feel intimidated.
how do you change?
Maybe on the system itself somehow.
So when we went to Germany last year, and we had a chance to hang out with Yoko and Ben a bit in Berlin, which was so cool. And we were really excited about them coming back again sometime soon, but this whole thing started, so now we're like reset the counter and waiting for them to come back and hang out with us in Japan again.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Yeah, it's kind of that we used to be able to just say, okay, let's go to Japan. And, you know, it's like suddenly a door is closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can chime in. We were just talking about, you know, what's your advice for keeping a happy home during lockdown when you're, you know, limited with what you can do?
Mm.
Let me get the
yeah. Just so, actually, I'll get it.
Yeah.
And you know, sorry, we just noticed we can only hear you very quietly. So maybe there's something we could do to change the settings, the audio settings here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would probably make a big difference if we just quickly.
Okay, we'll give you a minute to do that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Sorry about that.
Well, I was thinking about what Johnny said. You know, having a hobby is really important. I'm finding this to be a bit of a two-edged sword. So I read something recently where some folks were saying, you know, you need to balance between allowing yourself to respond in the way you're feeling. You need to respond to this, and also kind of pushing yourself to find other things to engage with. So for me, for music, I'll have a night where I'm just like, yes, I'm going to do some music. And then other days I just cannot summon even a tiny amount of creativity. What about
Yeah.
What about you?
I say communication. Communicate. Don't expect your partner family will understand what you're thinking. They're not psychic. You have to talk. If you want your alone time, you have to talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, everybody deal with the stress differently, so you have to open up for the conversation.
We kind of check with each other fairly often. You know, do you need some time, or, you know, is there something you want to watch that, you know, is well outside what I'm going to watch? So we'll switch spaces. So, you know, one of us will take over the other space, the other one will come back here. But we're lucky enough. I think a lot of people in Tokyo, couples, are weathering this in quite tiny spaces.
Yeah.
And we're kind of lucky because this place is quite big for central Tokyo. And, you know, there's this room, and we can do music here. And I work back here during the day. But in the evening, we can, either of us can use it. And then the living room's kind of got a view out into the world a little bit, and that's where the TV is. And then next to that is a bedroom that's open enough, so you can kind of choose an area to be in. And I think just making sure that we're giving each other what we need on a day-to-day basis in that regard. So checking with each other, you know, are you okay? Are you stressed today? Is just, you know, do you need time? Then I'll go away and then give you space today, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, maybe they're ready.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Nice.
Hello.
There you go.
Can you hear us okay now?
Yeah.
Yay.
She went back to
Yay.
Yay.
the headphone on.
Oh, the technical.
Yes. So what do you do then to kind of de-stress?
De-stress. What do we do to de-stress? We have to laugh a lot.
Yeah. I think easier said than done, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not about making jokes or anything like that, right? It's not about being funny per se. I think it's about actually not as much as even what one person does that's funny, but how you look at it that's funny. You know, like it's an attitude. And I noticed that with Yoko a lot in the evenings when Yoko's really tired. When I get tired, I get grumpy. And when Yoko's tired, she gets silly. So completely different reactions to tiredness.
Yeah.
And if we're having a good evening, it tends towards the silly side more, right? I think it's your good influence there. And if we pay attention to that, then that can really like just save the day, I think.
Yeah.
So we got a question from Kelly to add to that. She says, in addition to Johnny, are others happy about the lifestyle change from being in lockdown?
There's some positive aspects, right?
Yeah, like we developed a new routine, daily routine. That's positive.
Especially like a morning routine, basically.
Morning routine.
Right?
I explained how we established a morning routine.
That's good.
Yeah. Lifestyle change. I guess it's also important to notice what is not necessary in our life and delete it. Right? We feel that we have more time at home, but in fact, it's not much. Meaning, if you, for example, scroll mindlessly the Instagram post or Facebook post, but so then you can easily spend hours of your time. So you have to be very conscientious about what you actually use your time for.
Agreed.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say my lifestyle hasn't changed very much because I worked at home before this started. What became absent was the cafe, and I think that's what we've felt the biggest hole, because otherwise we're quite happy being at home together normally.
Yeah. But it's, yeah,
I think us too. We're kind of at home people anyway.
Yeah.
Right? How about you? I'm sorry, we haven't been introduced, so I don't know your name.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, hi, Ben.
I'm Gizelle.
I'm Johnny.
Hi, Gizelle. Hi, Johnny.
Yeah.
I think, well, the difference with us, too, though, I think, is the kids.
Yeah.
Because if it was just the two of us, you know, we'd have to be dealing with just the two of us. But, I mean, with having the kids there as a distraction from our own stresses or our own concerns or what's going on between us, whether good or bad or whatever, the kids there is something else to be like, okay, their needs are most important at this time. You know, we need to be taking care of that. Something to do with school or we need to go shopping because the kids are at home too. And if we're, you know, working, and sometimes we go into work, but there's no, you know, it's a social distancing situation that we can still have and go into work, which is good. But the kids are here by themselves. They're old enough to take care of themselves, but they still need food that they have to make and stuff. So we're like, all right, we got to figure out what the kids are going to
feed them.
We got to figure out what the kids are going to eat for the next week, right? So we got to, you know, think about that.
Yeah.
So there's things that that pull us out of our own kind of centrality of thought, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
And I think for us, especially because we have a pretty intense work, like we work really hard, like for where we are, like our hours and all that, we look forward to, you know, little holidays and long weekends and stuff. And we haven't had a chance to do any of that. Usually, you know, Golden Week is coming up and we'd be somewhere. Yeah. We're making plans to go somewhere. And, you know, whether it's just like a road trip somewhere or, you know, driving to, like going to Nagano, for example, or taking, you know, going to Thailand, for example, or something like that. There's always like some kind of plan. And those trips I look forward to because I don't have to think about feeding the kids, doing laundry, cleaning the house, and doing any of that stuff because I don't have to worry about that and just spend time hanging out with the family and enjoying that time. But when you live at home and you're stuck here at home, you know, all the other things kind of take over. Like for me anyway, that's just kind of like my thing where it's like I you know, the kitchen has to be clean or, you know, we got to do this. There's chores that need to be done. The garden needs to be tended. You know, I can't just let that go and say, okay, I'm just going to go and focus over here. I think I know I should, but it's just me. That's why the escape of going somewhere is really good for me because I don't have to think about any of that stuff. Right? Like even just going to there's a cabin that we kind of spend time in Nagano, and it's somebody else's house, but it's out in green space. It's, you know, like I'm still doing the same chores, but it's different. Like it's in a different environment, and it's the cabin is analog. They have like a VHS machine, and they have a cassette player, and we listen to cassette tapes of Narnia in it. And we watched and we watched Three Amigos on VHS on this like really old kind of TV, and you know, like
that was cool. That our kids wanted to listen to Narnia, and they're like, "How does this thing work?" And I'm like, "Figure it out. It's not that difficult, but I want to see if you can figure it out." And it's a cassette tape, and they had to, you know, you push buttons that do something mechanical.
Yeah.
I want to see if you can figure it out.
Wow.
And they did, which is good. It took them half a day, but they could do it.
Yeah.
So,
but,
my work here is done.
But even then, it's like that kind of environment. It is kind of, there is still physical labor involved, but it's actually, you're just focused on the family. And that's what it is. So here, I think it's actually a kind of like a good reminder. This kind of meeting is a good reminder for us to try and, you know, kind of focus in a little bit more on, you know, what's important for me anyway. And it's just like,
I just want the music.
I hear you say focus a lot, and I think that's such an important part of it, right? It's not just that you're going somewhere, it's that you're going somewhere and it makes you refocus. It puts your somewhere else. It's like, if you go on a holiday and you expect to have quality time, then you're going to be thinking about, how am I making this quality time? And so what I think is interesting about a lot of holidays actually is, you know, what they do for you mentally, not just where you are, but how they change your focus and your inner attitude and what you want from it. And so the interesting question would be, but this is more of just a mind game actually, is whether you can take that into, you know, a situation where you're not going somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. And it's not just a staycation. It's like we're on vacation, but we're not going anywhere. You know, it's like that's the positive spin of the lockdown or any of that sort of thing is you do have to think outside the box. It's forcing us to do classes and things online and use all this technology and stuff that was there, but I never had to use it. But now it's like, here, you have to use it now. And that's been a really sometimes stressful, but other times like really interesting learning curve in getting that going. And I mentioned this before. I was just thinking about this now, but I did the Cafe Cheshmeh live music show. What is it? About a month ago now? Is it a month ago now? Jeez.
Yeah, it's already a month.
Yeah, but I said, oh no. Actually, it was one of the other live things that I did. But I said, all this thinking outside the box and being forced to do things differently. Someone, maybe not me, maybe not you, but someone out there is going to find something that they never would have known that they're awesome at. Right? And they never would have known that had we not been put in this ridiculous situation. Right? And then it'd be like, hey, I can do things different. What? I can get money for doing this? Wow, awesome. I found a completely new job, and I'm going to be much happier now because of this crazy situation we've been put in. Maybe that's going to happen. If we keep open enough to accept like new pathways that we're presented with.
Yeah.
Right? And try to have a positive spin on it and, kind of drive through some of the really difficult, stressful learning curve stuff. And then we'll find something on the other side of that, and we'll be able to, enrich our lives when things get back to normal, or end up doing something else completely different that's much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the path for some people.
That's true. It's time, to try something new, and you can be suck at it and nobody gonna blame on you. It's just, you can try anything at home.
Very true.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but I bought a whole bunch of canvases.
Oh, cool.
And we've been painting. Well, that's like our son has been painting quite a bit, so we've been watching a lot of Bob Ross.
We do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Bob Ross.
Yeah, we did that anyway before the lockdown.
That's his latest one.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was inspired by a concert that he watched with his friends on Fortnite. I don't know how that happened. I have no idea. But he was sort of inspired by that, and he painted this.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we've been we've been painting. Yesterday we made bath bombs with my daughter. We did the Chia Pet thing, and my girlfriend, she sent me a link on the family edition of Cards Against Humanity.
Okay.
If you've never played that game before, there's the adult version, and this one's the family version. So it can...
Don't mix up the two.
Basically, it's like there's these situational cards, and everybody else has to add their own variable into the card, and the person who picked that card chooses the best one.
The one they like the best.
The one they like the best.
There's no right answer. It's just what you like.
Yeah. It's just what you like.
Against Humanity?
Pardon?
It's called Cards Against Humanity?
Cards Against Humanity. And it's better to play it with the adult version. I think I prefer playing that version, but the family version is good, and we've played the game a couple of times now, and it's really interesting because I've discovered that my sense of humor matches my son, and our daughter's sense of humor matches his.
Wow.
So we will almost inevitably end up picking, because we don't know whose cards
the cards
they are.
face down and you mix them up. So
yeah.
Okay.
So who comes first? So it's stuff like let's read here. Yeah. So it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, so
we played it with another family friend of ours online like this.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. So it's kind of like coming to theaters this season: Star Wars: The Rise of, and then so there's 4 of us, and we would all pick a card. And we would pass on the card to that person who read it, and we would find the one that's the funniest.
Everyone gets 10 cards to choose from, like this. So I would choose this one. Coming to theaters this holiday season: Star Wars: The Rise of a Naked Lady in a Painting. That sort of thing.
Or Star Wars: The Rise of Having to Pee So Bad. So you get 4 of these, and the person who picked that black card has to pick the funniest one. Or the one that doesn't have to be the funniest, but one that they like. Some of it can be pretty dark, and some of them can be a little bit risque. But I almost always end up picking my son's cards, and vice versa. And then our son and our daughter and Johnny would end up picking each other's cards. So there's a lot of kind of weirdness that we kind of picked up on it.
This is pretty good for families. The regular version is an adult party game.
It's profane as heck. And it's
You have to struggle to say
it's deliciously profane. Yes. Profane and profound. So, yeah. So that's basically
profusely.
Or here, like this is a good one. Never fear, Captain Person Milk is here.
Oh.
Something like that. Right? Anyway, so it's a really fun kind of card game to play, and we could probably play that at some point online because it's kind of hilarious. So, card games.
What was the question?
Yeah. What you do to stay sane.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly had another question for us, which was, okay, so we've talked about all the things that have changed, but what would you keep from this when the world returns to normal? What things that have changed in your life would you hang on to?
Our morning routine.
Yeah, our morning routine for one.
I really like that. The morning routine, yes. Yeah.
Is this like a fantasy game where I could choose anything, or is it something that I have to be able to practically work into a normal existence?
Let's say you have to work. I want to hear both, but let's say I want to hear your crazy thing, but let's say it has to be something you can actually do.
Okay. Well, it's not a crazy thing. It's just something that I'd like to be able to actually do. I know I won't be able to have all the time that I have to do the music and recording and stuff that I have now. That'd be great to have. I'm reasonably certain I'm getting away with murder here, having all this time right now. And it's not when things do, hopefully, we come out the other side of this, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to have that amount of time. Would be nice. But I'm not sure. Other than that, I'd have to think.
What about you?
Food.
Yeah.
Before we're eating. Not eating dirty, eating greasy.
We used to order lunch a lot because I was working and she was getting ready to go off to work. So, last thing we wanted to be doing at lunch was cooking, so we weren't eating particularly good food at lunch.
Yeah.
But now every meal is healthy, and you can feel it. I mean, I don't know. It's really weird. I had this sort of muffin thing going on my stomach. It was not easy to see, but I could see it, and she could see it. And we cut out all the sugar and kind of reduced some of the things that, we were kind of blowing through. Like breakfast cereal, we'd buy these big bags of breakfast cereals, constantly buying this stuff at the grocery store. And now that we don't do that, now that we're ordering most of what we do online, so we're really thinking about, a week's food, all that sort of excess fat vanished. And not because of the exercise, it vanished before we started the exercise routine. So I think it was just what we were eating before was not that good for us. We sleep better. So yeah, I want to keep doing that.
Yeah. No more Cinnabons.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, once in a while we're going to have
sometimes
a Cinnabon.
Cinnabons. Okay.
I thought of something.
What?
Just because we did sort of get into a routine of watching the news in the evening, and then right now we're looking at social media and stuff because you kind of get sucked in with the news and different things. But there was other times, like before this, I would do that too, like scrolling through Facebook and stuff, watching TV and things. But now, because if you do that too much, scrolling through Facebook or watching the news too much, you're gonna go crazy. So now we know it's like, all right, I've had enough. I'm gonna turn this off. But that's something that would be nice to hold on to, where it'd be like, you know what, for a couple of days, I don't think I need to see the news. If there's something really important that's going to happen, I'll probably find out about it. I'm just going to keep the TV off.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and just put my phone in a box and not worry about scrolling through Facebook, you know? That'd be something that if I don't, you know, right now it's sort of like for my sanity, I kind of have to do it. But later on, if there's something that is something that I don't have to do, but I'm going to choose to do it like that.
Yeah.
Is that good?
I think that sense of that you have a choice and that you're exerting a choice. For me, that has a lot to do with the topic of self-control. And I think by being on our own so much, by working from home, by spending all your time at home, you know, if you're going to the office, there's always somebody else controlling what you're doing. And even setting kind of controls how you interact with other people, how you interact with certain kinds of media, etc. Now, you're at home and nobody else is controlling what you do and how long you do it and until when you do it and what time in the evening you stop working, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly all the external controls are gone. So for me, over the last few weeks, and for us it's been like 5 weeks or something, it's really been a sense of realizing the importance of self-control more than before. Realizing the importance more than before of saying, okay, not, let me just write this one more email, it's 9 o'clock. No, you know, at 6:30 you make a cut, but you have to decide that. And hopefully, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm hoping that over these last 5 weeks, my self-control has increased. And that's one thing that I want to take with me after the Corona crisis is a better sense of what's good for me, that I make the choices, and that I control also, some of the bad habits, you know, that you develop unless you exert self-control. You know?
Yeah, that's really good because it's you know, making the choice not to, like, even something as simple as reading your phone in bed, right? It's that whole kind of like, no, I'm gonna put that down and I'm gonna put that somewhere else and I'm gonna go and do something else. To me, that's a big deal because I realize it's like there was just so much content that I didn't really want, and it's just there, it's just available. So like by choosing to kind of shut off, I'm kind of happy with not good. That's why I hadn't been in touch with Megumi and Kelly since like until today, because I hadn't been on. You know, I was like, oh yeah, don't we have something going on Saturday? I better go and check in with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
That makes sense.
I kind of forgot too. I'm like, until like yesterday or like this morning. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh yeah. But
I like, I don't know. I like what we do in the mornings, and it's a regular routine that kind of feels that feels right, like it fits into your like it should stay there all the time. It shouldn't change. Yeah, kind of thing. That's one thing.
Cheryl had an interesting question, and I've heard this before, and I like to think about this too. Said, will life ever go back to the way it was before, do you think?
No.
Will we
No.
as a species, I think I mentioned this before too, it's like as a species, this is sort of as an animal on this system, in this planet, this is a watershed moment, I think. This is a moment for us to go, things should be different. And if we don't come out of it thinking differently about something in the way that we interact with this planet and everything else on it, then, I mean, it seems like a very harsh language, but I think we will have missed the evolutionary boat.
Yeah.
This is a moment that should change us, because it's a global thing, because we're all affected by it in the same way, in like varying degrees, but there's the same thing that is affecting us. This should change us, and we should realize that there are things that aren't important. and there are things that we can choose more. Like Ben was saying, we can exercise our right to choose things more, rather than have things sort of, thrust upon you. And I hope that we go back to, after this is done, that we can, move forward from that point and not backslide into some of the things like figuring out a way to keep the air cleaner because it's cleaner in a lot of places because there's just less pollution. The water is cleaner in some places just because there's less activity.
Right.
How can we maintain that? How can we move that forward? I think this is a good opportunity for us as a species to figure out things, to keep things better, and to move on from there rather than backslide.
Agree.
I don't know if that will happen. Cheryl was asking, do you think it will? I hope it does. I hope we can. I hope we can, like, really get a hold of this situation and move forward.
Without diving too far into the politics of everything, I think we've seen a shift in how people are viewing themselves to a certain degree. People are thinking about the prioritization of things like healthcare and structures within society that make society functional. And, my politics amongst my friends, I think, are pretty well known. But I think that we are at a moment where there's an opportunity to make conscious choices about how we will structure society when this is over. Will we work in ways that we do not have as many people who are in situations like we're seeing in Singapore, for example, where migrant workers are the result of their new outbreak? We've got to start thinking in terms of the weakest person in any given society is potentially the greatest problem for the entirety of society. You have to try to work so that everyone in society has an opportunity to be safe, fed, housed, clothed, and able to function within society in a way that is fulfilling for them. And the distribution of wealth in society needs to be such that we're not seeing people starve or go homeless or losing their jobs and see the collapse of societies into depression. But beyond that, I think it also, just from a working perspective, Japan is a beautiful poster child for this. For the first time now, Japan is really needing the classical companies to think about what do you do if you can't come to the office, and how to balance aspects of work and everyday life in ways that are going to be different. And if they are smart, the companies that will come through this and thrive are the ones who are going to come through this rethinking how they have relationships with the working people and how the relationship of time and work are managed. And that's what I'm hoping will come out on the other side. But I don't think that's going to happen. To answer the will it happen, I don't think that's going to happen naturally. I think the only way it will happen is if those of us who are learning these lessons come out the other side advocating for change and really standing up for that change. It's time to stop being quiet. We've got to start talking about what kind of world we want to live in and being assertive about it. Everybody saying, this is the world I want to live in. You can't just be a passive observer anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just for, like you said, it's not just for Japan, it's everywhere. Like what's going on in the Philippines, what's going on in Canada, what's going on in the States, and here in Japan. I mean, we haven't seen much of the news that's going on in Japan, but there's just been like rampant deaths in senior care homes in Canada. And it's been brutal. And it's, like you can really tell, like it just seems like it's a good reflection of the society as a whole, is like how you treat your most vulnerable. So you've got your senior citizens there who all of a sudden are some of them are dying because of neglect.
Yeah, it's exposing a completely unacceptable situation.
Yeah. And that's for us here, like you said, in like migrant workers in Singapore, in Canada, it's the senior citizens, it's the natives who are like working on who live on the reserves, like when they don't have adequate health care, like it's all that. And for for, I don't know what it's like in Germany, but I'm assuming like if you have a high migrant population, or of peoples, and they're being affected, it shows that we're failing in something, and that we should work towards fixing things in that direction, and showing an appreciation for our regular day-to-day workers, like the garbage guys, the garbage pickup, and the nurses, and
the essential employees.
The essential employees,
which under normal circumstances are people that would just, you'd walk straight by.
Yeah, your grocery store clerks, your combini clerks. Like here in Japan, it's like if those combini people are sick, where are people going to get their food? Right? They come into work risking their health, so that people can shop. And it's like, and they get the least amount of pay. They don't have benefits. Nobody takes care of them on that level. And, it's like if these people lose their jobs because they're usually arbeit, right? Like they're part-time people, or they go through an agency, they don't have the same kind of benefits that normal people would be getting. And they have the lowest paid jobs, and yet they're
normal.
I mean, no, they get, I know, but they you know what I mean? But they get, they have to go in and work, right? They have to come in and provide the care. Like our garbage is still getting picked up.
Yeah.
Right? The buses are still running.
It gets picked up if I remember to take it out.
So it's, that bus driver who drives people back, and who goes to the hospital and back, right? All those sick people that are going on the bus with him. I don't know. It's just so it's so glaring, and I think I would very much like for us to come out of it with that kind of awareness and a better appreciation for our essential workers. I think in the States they have the where they clap every that's great. I think that's awesome, but it's like stay home so that they don't get sick.
Yeah.
Your clapping doesn't mean anything. Like they need our support. Like who was it that somebody had posted it of a woman who was saying that no, we're not the frontline workers. We are the last line of defense. The general public are the front lines.
Yes.
We're like the last of, people shouldn't be getting to where we are, right? But what we're looking at is like people who are, taking advantage of, being able to go and enjoy hanami, for example, or, like it's that stuff. And it's like, no, you don't understand. And that's what it is. Like a lot of people don't understand what it's, what the environment is like, and the struggle, I think, with a lot of like small businesses in Japan, and like the run-ins that you've had with friends and acquaintances, Kelly, of not being happy with your comments about not going to the bars and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, there is that issue that we have to kind of pay attention to, and the government is not taking care of that.
Yeah.
In the sense of like Cheshmeh closing down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it because it's like it's important for you not to get anybody sick.
Yeah.
But you're not being supported as of now. Right now, we don't know what's going on with that. You're not getting any support.
No.
So that needs something that needs addressing for everybody. Like,
well, and that's
old.
I mean, that's the issue in Japan. That's why the lockdown, isn't functioning, because so many people, albaito workers, part-time workers, and the contract workers are all still on trains every day going to work because there's no solution for them. We hear about other countries who have implemented, guaranteed minimum incomes. They put freezes on rent and mortgages so people can stay home. Yeah. These are some of the things, back to that whole change of how we structure society. I think we're going to hear topics like basic minimum income becoming something that people start talking about in very serious ways, and education access becoming something that's talked about more significantly, with the idea of enabling every strata of society to have a certain degree of security regardless of what's going on. I mean, we know that the wealth necessary to do this is being generated by those very same people, with the work they do every day, with the consumption that they do every day. And it's a matter of the distribution of that wealth. And that's always been the case throughout history, is how is the wealth of the world distributed? And, you know, this is kind of a departure, but, you know, we support a lot of investment banks in the work we do. So I'm constantly hearing speeches about things like, well, you know, we need exponential growth, year on year on year on year growth in a finite environment. It's a form of complete madness. If you have a finite environment with finite resources, exponential growth forever was never a possibility. It's madness. So can we develop a system that is inclusive, protective of working people no matter what strata they exist in or what service they provide? And can we do that in a manner that will be ultimately sustainable? And those are the questions I think every single person sitting in their home right now needs to be thinking about, because when we're out of this, who we vote for, who we support, what companies we shop from, where we choose to spend our money and our time is going to matter, because we should reward the people who come out the other side of this with a better worldview, and we should let the rest wither. And it really should become that clear cut.
Yeah.
Would you say also, I mean, for us, where we kind of consider ourselves a little bit more advantaged in that we can think about these things, but you know, for some people, like this is one of the things that I've recently been reading is like, you know, Maslow's theory of human motivation, and it's that for some of us, we have the opportunity to kind of reach for our full potential, to understand that. But when we have a strata of people who are struggling with food, water, shelter, healthcare, they can't think of anything else beyond that strata.
True.
And so I think it would require like a fundamental shift of consciousness to kind of say, you know, what's important to you? What is your full potential? Is it being able to have enough money so that you can buy bling clothes? Or is it, you know, like there's a thin layer of materialism that kind of people seem to think that fulfills like a self-esteem issue. Yeah. Right. And to be able to achieve that self-esteem, then you can go up to be your best. But it's like, at what point do the rest of society kind of understand that, you know, my clothes and my car, or, you know, the outfits that I wear, where I shop, the food that I buy, you know, is irrelevant. It's who you are as a person. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's the connections that you make. It's the help that you give other people. It's you know, it's kind of putting us back closer to earth, where, you know, being grounded in that sense, because once you have all that, then you can reach that pinnacle where, you know, you are achieving great things for yourself. That's for the betterment of society.
I mean, I think you've nailed an essential point. If you are struggling day to day to eat, to house yourself, you're not going to be able to shift your attention to fighting. And actually, that's where populism becomes an issue, because someone will come along and tell you what they think you should do. And if they sound kind of like wherever you are from and whatever's around you, then you might follow them, even though it's not good for you. I think the responsibility, the accountability for changing things can't rest on that part of society in the beginning. It has to rest upon the rest of us. We have to be the ones who understand that how we live is a big part of keeping people who are doing worse off where they are. And we need to make changes in our lives that help to empower them. And that means things like accepting that if you're paying a little more tax, and that means that this kid from an underprivileged community is going to get access to university, and this person might be very talented and bring something to the table for the greater part of society. That needs to happen. That providing a minimum income and access to health care will allow that community to start to think about other things. And it will solve a lot of the systemic issues that affect everybody. But if we don't do that, it'll never change. It's up to us. I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that brings you to the question also, not just how much taxes are you paying, but how are the taxes being used? You know,
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of people have this attitude, I'm paying my taxes, and that's the end of the story. No, the accumulation of all taxes being paid should be used for the betterment of society, should be used in the way that is most beneficial for the greatest amount of people in, let's say, Japan or Germany or wherever. And then when taxes are being used in an awkward way, where you think, hold on, that can't be right. You know, like 46 billion yen being spent on, I don't know, 110 million masks.
Yeah.
And you do the calculation, you think like that's 420 yen per mask. That's way too expensive. What's wrong there? Who's getting who's cutting the margin? You know, who's sticking their hand in the pot? How do you react? What do you do? What are your options to protest against that?
Yeah.
And I think that's also an element that's quite crucial in any well-functioning society that wants to better itself, is that there's a control aspect, that the masses have somehow a method of pointing out mistakes, controlling misbehavior, et cetera, et cetera. In Germany, for example, people protest. I think in America too. When something's out of line, they protest online. They go, you know, do demonstrations of stuff like that. And one thing that I've always felt about Japan is that there's not such a strong will to politically engage publicly.
Yeah.
And so my question is, sorry, that's what I was coming around to. My question is, what do you do in Japan? How do you voice your critique or your criticism? How can you build a situation where there is a methodology for controlling or finding mistakes, for controlling clearly bad behavior by people who are in power?
I would add an added question to that.
Yeah.
I think you need to add an additional question, which is, how do you assure that action then has the potential for results? You mentioned that you know, we see protesting in other countries, but a lot of the time it's for naught. I mean, we don't, not until there's a wave of it. And I think it comes back to, should we allow governments to become established to the point where the people who are supposed to be representing and managing our societies are so invested and so ingrained in how society is working that we don't have any ability to control them? I personally think no one should be able to stay in office for very long. It should be constantly changing, because that gives the opportunity for new blood to come in, and also it changes the accountability all the time, rather than getting, you know, like Japan's government, which I think largely works for the oligarchy here. It's not really representative of the people. It's representative of Japan Inc., which is why everyone on earth who writes about Japan treats it like a corporation and not a country.
Interesting.
You know, there's an idea here that Japan runs itself like a corporation, and we saw that with the response with the Olympics. It was obvious to everyone in January that the Olympics were threatened and would probably need to be canceled. And by the time we got to February, there were probably 5-year-olds at home saying, you know, we should cancel the Olympics.
Yeah.
But Japan Inc. thought, no, it's going to cost money, and we've got a reputation to uphold, and we need to keep an image, and so we're going to control reporting on the virus. We're going to manage every aspect of the outbreak here so the world thinks Japan has got this under control, knowing full well it wasn't. It's corporate spin, and that's the problem with Japan. You have to remove this politician class and replace it with a representative government.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that, because it's rampant in all aspects of society in Japan, where that whole thing leading up to, you know, the soft shutdown that we've had, is that people were more focused on the what are we going to do? What about people who have to work? What about the people, like, in our situation where we're working at a daycare? It's like, you don't seem to understand that people are going to die. You know, there will be deaths. The daycare, your children not going to school, all that, it's okay. That can wait. That, you know, keep them home, and, you know, it's fine. Like, people were so stressed out about the children not being allowed to go to school or something. Like, this is like when they shut down in March. And it's like, that's fine. That's okay, because their grandparents have a high risk of dying if they go to school. But they couldn't. It was kind of like, it was really kind of like a hard shift to say, oh, it's an inconvenience to the parents. So, well, I have to go to work. What am I going to do? And all that. I mean,
well, it's the lateral thinking sort of aversion. I mean, I don't like going here. I don't like doing like the finger pointing and kind of saying, well, you know, Japanese people. I'm not Japanese, and I don't have very much ability to change what's going on here. We can't vote. I mean, and all that sort of thing. But there oftentimes you do see an inability to shift your way of thinking. It's like, well, we go to work. We have to go to work. If we don't go to work, we're not going to get the money. And, you know, and we're faced with a situation where we can't do this. We have to do this, right? If we want to continue functioning, if we want to do that, and that's been a difficulty with quite a lot of areas of Japanese society, perhaps other places too.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the States,
it's not entirely Japanese.
No,
you know?
In the States, when you have those people who are like protesting the lockdown, like they wanna open things up again.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So that
Yeah. So,
I think we're like an hour over.
Yeah. So let's put something fun to kind of wrap up.
Can I tell you a fun story?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So it's not really fun. It's kind of fun, okay? So I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and of course that's totally canceled, right? Because you're sliding over each other and stuff, and it's, you know, the best way to get infected. And we have a common WhatsApp group. And in our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu group, we have one doctor who's also working, you know, in your emergency services and stuff like that. So he actually sees what's happening, and he's right now, you know, working in areas where he has to wear a full body suit to protect himself, etc. And yet, you know, you were talking about people who kind of don't get it, and they kind of just want life to go back to normal, and they think that's more important than, you know, saving your grandparent. So that kind of discussion was actually happening in the BJJ WhatsApp group. They're saying like, oh, we want to go back, and I miss you guys, and, you know, oh, and who wants to, Okay, so he kind of put an end to that by sending a very funny picture of American soldiers in World War I crossing a field, and one of the American soldiers was carrying a donkey. And underneath is a little explanation. Yeah, carrying a donkey.
Okay, the animal donkey.
His shoulders.
The
on his
animal
shoulders,
donkey.
the animal donkey, right? Yeah. And there's an explanation at the bottom. You know, this World War One, and they're crossing this field, and the field is mined. And the donkey doesn't know where the mines are, but the soldiers can see the mines, and so they can be careful not to step on them. And so the kind of motto of the story, or the moral of the story was, in dangerous times, the first people you have to take care of are the jackasses who are going to blow you up.
That's good.
Nice.
I just thought that this, then the doctor also wrote a comment and said, like, if you want to go back to, doing BJJ and stuff and get infected, then don't come to my ward. I want you to sign an official paper. I want you to sign an official paper that states that if you catch it and your body gets into problems and you need to go to the ER, that you won't go, because we're full. And if you're doing something where you then take responsibility. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's...
Anyway, I could send you that photo. It's a very funny photo.
I would love to see that. And I think maybe that's
Soldier
the uplifting... That's the uplifting message. Every single person watching this, what you do this week as we get into Golden Week, or wherever you are in the world, what you do this spring, make decisions that think about the long-term picture. Stay inside. Do something creative. Do something like this. Get people together and talk about your life experiences. And if you do that for a month and a half, we're going to see this thing start to get better. You do that for 2 months, it's going to start to get to a point where we can think about a world where we're not locked up every day. All we've got to do is buy time until good therapies come online and until a vaccine's online. The therapies are probably not that far off. There's a lot of things out there that are being tested now that we might see results as early as fall that will help people survive this. And if we're lucky, some of the vaccines that have already gone to human testing will start to appear. So it's up to you. If you stay home, you buy time. Every day you stay home, every day you avoid people is another day that other people are going to be safer.
Yeah, be a hero by just staying home and being lazy. That's once in a lifetime chance for you.
Right.
It's the who is it? Susan Carroll said it's the art of pause.
Oh, beautiful.
Art of
It was a comment on something that I had posted, but she was like, it's the art of pause. So I think that really encapsulated this thing that I had written. And I could have just said that, but I said it in far too many words. But yeah, it's that, and that's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to sit and go, you know what? I'm not going to do something about this. And even that can be the most powerful thing that you can do sometimes.
Yep.
It's not doing anything.
Here's to that.
Sometimes,
So we've gone way over time, and I want to say thanks to everyone who's stuck with us, because we've actually had quite a few people stick with us throughout today. I want to thank Yoko and Ben coming to us in the middle of their day from Berlin.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And Gizelle and Johnny coming to us from lovely Saitama.
Yeah.
Where in Saitama are you?
Sorry?
Where in Saitama are you?
Urawa.
Urawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saitama City,
Home of the Reds.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, I don't soccer. I just say because it's everywhere here. So.
Yeah.
But, it's lovely. It's residential. And thank you, Kelly and Megumi, for hosting this.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
This is actually a really, really nice diversion, and it's a really good chance for us to kind of engage with people that's not on text.
We're going to keep this thing going every other week. So next weekend is the next Cafe Cheshmeh variety show, which is music and performances. And then the week after that, we do this again. We're going to, as long as we can keep it going, we're going to do this every other week.
I think I'm ripe for another some more music online too. So hopefully in the next week I'm gonna look out for that. I guess.
Awesome.
Just nothing definite, but I got to do something.
So we'll do a shout out. If you're listening to this and you want to be on the chat show, text us, let us know. If you're a musician or artist and you want to show us your creativity on the variety show, give us a shout out for that. We're going to put the Chia Pet link in. I just saw Gizelle grab the Chia Pet.
Oh,
My Chia Pet's having a pee.
Whoa!
So it's a little pig. It's a piggy Chia Pet, but there's only just little bits of green that you can see.
but that's been a few days.
It's been a few days. Apparently, it takes about a month for it to grow. So
And they're just from regular chia seeds that you can buy dry in the store. You just have to reconstitute them. You soak them, and then they come back to life, like any nut or seed. Careful with the word. Like any nut or seed, you soak it, and it'll come back to life. It's better to eat, for one thing.
Wow.
If you do that, but also you can do this kind of thing.
And how do you make the shape?
Yeah.
Oh, I can send you the tutorial video that I've been working on.
Please.
I will.
Cool.
I told Kelly I was gonna send it to him, but I never got around to it. But I just need to tie it up, and then I'll send it to Kelly.
That's the other thing we're going to do. We're asking everyone who's making weird little hum videos about stuff you're into or whatever you're doing, send it to us. We're going to make a compilation so all of our crazy community can see what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
With that, thanks everybody, and we're going to go ahead and run the closer, and we'll see you with the variety show next weekend.
Take care.
Thanks.
Stay safe.
Thank
Stay
you,
healthy.
everybody, for tuning in.
Wash your hands.
Gizelle and Johnny.
Peace. Bye-bye.
Great to meet you.
Bye, guys.
Nice to meet you.